If we do not use the QR code on the paddles and proceed with our own sort of custom paddles, can we still on the back end add different components to the cart? So for instance, a live auction bid, a silent auction bid, a last hero. Can we do that ourselves and put it in the cart for them to then check out?
Okay, so let me understand. So you want to use your own paddles? Is it just the design?
Well, I think we've already gone ahead and had them all printed. There might be an opportunity for us still to, but let's just proceed if we have.
All right. So if you already have your paddles printed, what you could do is assign those numbers to your guests. And then, so you'll go in and say, okay, Nidhi is going to be paddle 101 and Sean is going to be paddle 102. And then at the time of check-in, your volunteers will see when they're checking in the guests, hey, Sean's 103, let me go pick up 103 and give it to her. And it's all pre-assigned. So then when you add it to the cart, it'll still go into their cart. So you can do that. Does that address your question?
No worries. I just wanted to confirm that we can, as volunteers on the back end, apply the charges for them.
Yes, so
you can, and also the part 2, which I think you were also alluding to, you can add things to their cart as well. So you can either add it in the live mode, like we showed you the demo where the clerk is adding it in, or you can just make note of all their pledges and then go add it from the app or the backend system as well.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Have you had much success or recommendations around taking segments of the event and utilizing matching contributions from certain sponsors or major donors, such that, let's say if you divided it up into 4 pieces, there'd be the first quarter, the second, the third, and the fourth. What's your feeling on that?
Sure, you can totally do that, right? We've seen different sponsor scenarios show up. So either you can do things like, hey, when we reach 100K, we're going to have a matching grant kind of kick in, right? So you could do that. So as soon as you hit 100K, you could apply another 100K and your total will bump up to 100K. You can do that. Your question about breaking it up into sections, you can put up different sponsor logos. I would recommend using that main video screen to show a big sponsor logo, especially if they are your major sponsor. So you can get creative when you want to focus on each of the sponsors.
I have another question for you. This is in regards to the seating assignments on the tables. Is it possible for you to be able to share your screen so we can see what that looks
Sure, from the backend system?
like? Just to see what that interface is like.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Let's do this. Give me a second. Okay. All right, so this, and let me go into my account, my test account. And if you go to your manage tickets and guests, and then you go to your in-person gala ticket campaign, these are all the tickets that have been bought. If you go to your guest tab, you can see all the guests who signed up for your event, and then you can go and assign tables. So for example, I want to assign a table to Nidhi. I would go in and then pick a table, and it'll make sure you don't oversubscribe right on the table. It'll show you only the free spots that are available. You can either assign them on guest level or you can assign it at ticket level, which are groups of people. So you could put everybody in a group on one table as well. Does that
sure? Yes, it does. Thank you. So there's no kind of visual representation where we can see the actual sort of circled tables.
That makes sense. So you'll have your own chart. I guess every room is different. So I'm guessing you'll probably have a printout in front of you. And then, as you've picked, you'll just keep assigning them to your group.
Okay.
This is for you to do from the back end, not for guests to pick, right?
No, of course. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I forgot to ask one more question, and I know it was covered in some of the beginning moments that I missed. Is there in the presentation some examples of the games that were played For example, our organization has not done a lot of galas or auctions with games, and it would be helpful to have some suggestions on ones that you recommend or you think work well for the group.
So I know yours is a hybrid event, right? So in a hybrid event, Last Hero, what you play today works very well, right? Because again, it's like an equal opportunity game for both your audiences. That's a pretty interesting game. For your in-person audience, you could play Heads or Tails. That's another very effective game as well. I don't know if you've played that before.
Yeah,
That's a good game. What else? You could do pretty much any game. If you have an idea of a game that you want to execute, reach out to us and we'll kind of help you execute.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, some board members have asked us about raffles, but I also know,
you can do raffles.
Nationally, getting the appropriate certifications to legally do that. What can you tell us about
it? Yes, legally you do need the certification and you need the rights to run a raffle.
Nidhi, this is the auction. There's one more game that people like to play also, and it's they use a deck of cards. And what'll happen is the auctioneer will take the deck of cards, and those cards will be distributed throughout the entire audience, for the in-person audience. And then the auctioneer will hold up the card, actually ask if anybody's a 2 or a 3, and then they'll eliminate themselves that way. And then the winner will have the auctioneer will have the winning card in his hand. And then everybody will sit down if they're not a jacks or they're not a 5 or they're not a 4, and it'll eliminate everyone. Or if the suit they can also use for whatever the cards are too. So that's a fun game that people like that are in person.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if you could show us what the registration looks like for the back end.
For your guess?
Yes. The in-person registration.
Sure. Sean, I know you'll have an onboarding session set up, right? And we will be going through, your requirements as well as what types of tickets you want to sell, and we'll set up a campaign to match that. But I can show you an example as well right now. So
that'd be great. Thank you.
Let me do that. Start with my event page, which I have set up over here. I'm going to copy the link. Let me see if I have. This is my event page right now. I have my virtual and in-person connected. I can register, and then the guests can choose which one they want to sign up for. Sean, is your event going to be hybrid, virtual, or in-person only?
No, it'll just be in person.
In person. Okay, so then in that case, you don't have to have the virtual component. And then you could set up your different levels, individual, couple, table, or however you'd like, comp, anything, right? All those things can be set up. You can also explain what the different levels would get them. And then guests can pick which one they want. Let's pick a couple ticket right now. They'll put in their name and email. We have this other functionality where they can add on a donation as well. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. They can just skip, or they can add on a donation. And then they can pay however they like. The system will recommend the best method of payment for that donor, for that device. So here, since I have Google Pay set up, it's showing me that. If not, by default, it would show me the ability to use a credit card or a bank account. Let's use a credit card today. And then it'll ask me if I want to cover the credit card fee on behalf of the organization. Let's cover it. I process, and then you can put in your questions that you want to ask them, right? So here I want to collect information about all the guests who are coming to the event, and I also want to collect their meal preference. So let's just say Nidhi is going to be vegetarian, and then let's say you're my guest. Sean is coming too, and you're going with the chicken option, and I complete my transaction, and then I'll get a ticket confirmation. Do you remember seeing that from the demo? Or I can show you. This is the confirmation that I'll get with the 2 tickets, check-in, and then all the information about where it's going to be held, directions, all that will be included in the email. And you can add whatever other details you want as well.
Terrific. Yeah, the confusion. I was actually asking what the process was like when people are checking in at the event itself?
Oh, people are checking in. We'll go through that at your volunteer training. So your volunteers will have an app, and then you might have seen the screenshot in the deck. They'll just hit check in, they'll scan this QR code, which you're seeing on the screen, and then it'll show up that, hey, is it Nidhi and Shauno checking in or just Nidhi? We'll check them in, it'll show the table number, the paddle, go pick up the paddle and hand it over to them.
Okay.
I just have a question and curious, I think, because that last question kind of, I think, alludes to what a lot of people consider the online lobby time and what you do in the lobby time that might be different from what's done in the room. Do you have any suggestions to make that transition easy when you're trying to bring the online audience into the live portion?
So good question. I would recommend having a good run of show thought out, right? So your in-person audience could arrive at 6 p.m., for example, and then they're checking in, you have your happy hour, they can mingle. And then when your host goes on stage, which could, for example, be 7 p.m., start your virtual event at 7 p.m. So your virtual audience is not just watching people walk around the room, right? They start when your event actually goes live. So have your host go on at 7 and have your virtual event start at 7 p.m. as well.
Thank you.
Makes sense? Yeah. And then while they're waiting before 7 p.m., you'll have your lobby slides. I think, you joined a little bit late, so you might not have seen, but we have a lobby for your virtual audience. You'll have your pictures that are rolling, that there'll be music playing, and then there'll be a countdown timer, so they know exactly when it's going to go live. There'll also be a chat, which is open. So everybody can start talking to each other. Your volunteers can start welcoming your virtual guests and interacting with them as well.
Hi, Nidhi. I'll just take advantage of another minute with you.
Sure, go ahead.
If that's okay. So we've already had folks register through a Classy system. So we're coming to you as sort of a last minute solution because we really want to make sure that we swipe cards as people come in. So we'll be uploading a whole list of guests. And then is there a way still to send those guests a confirmation so that they have a QR code?
Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
So the way your process will work is you'll upload your guest list, and again, we'll send you a sample guest list. So just give it to us in that format. That makes it very easy for us to upload. And it'll ask you questions like, okay, who's a couple? And if you want to put them on the same paddle, for example, or keep them on separate paddles, so then the assignments will be done accordingly. The guest list will get uploaded. You'll go in and do your table assignment. And then when the guest is checking in, your volunteer can ask them, hey, would you like to put a credit card on file? And if they say yes, we will be sending you card readers if you've ordered them. And your volunteer will just swipe, tap, insert whatever, and then it'll get associated to that guest. And either the guest can do a self-checkout, or you're using your own paddle, so maybe no self-checkout. Either they can walk up to a volunteer and have the volunteer check out with the saved card, or give a different credit card, or you can charge them the day after if they haven't closed their card, since you have the pre-swipe.
Terrific. All right. Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
Sure.